Hey guys, Karaoke here. In this video I want to talk to you about getting your Ascended crafting up, so mostly we're going to be talking about going from level 400 to level 500. This video is meant to go along with the checklist that should appear on the same web page as the video, so use the video and use the checklist to help you out. We're going to go step by step, and in the first step you have to start collecting mats. So take a look at your collections. What we really want to do is get a whole bunch of the Tier 5 and Tier 6 materials. So I mean mithril, orichalcum, silk, gossamer, thick leather, hardened leather, elder wood, and ancient wood. And you can do whatever you want with the Tier 5 mats, you can refine that, but what you need to do is start collecting your Tier 6 mats in their unrefined state. So you'll see I have a bunch of orichalcum ingots, but I don't have a lot of orichalcum ore, and that's one thing that can help me get from 400 to 500, is collecting a bunch of this and then refining it. So just to start off with, start collecting mats, stop refining those Tier 6 mats, and then once you start to have a whole bunch of mats, we can move on to step 2. Alright, step 2. First, you have to get your crafting to 400. And the best way to do that is to use the webpage gw2crafts.net, which I have here. They have two different versions of their guides. They have normal guides and fast guides. Fast guides are a little bit easier, and they don't require you to use certain things that might be part of the normal guides. Like if I go look here, there's a lot of things that you need to get from heart vendors or other places that you may not have, or might take a little bit longer to get everything. Whereas the fast guides, you know, they're meant to just get you there as quick as possible, but they require a little bit more gold. If you go up to the top, there's a totals page, and from here I can go and compare all the different crafts and see the difference between the normal and fast guides. So for some of these, it's quite a bit of money. Like if you're doing weapon crafting, you know, there's like, what, an 8 gold difference between the normal and fast, so it might be worth doing the normal. Whereas if you were doing jewel crafting, there's only about a gold and a half difference. So sometimes it can be helpful to do the fast guides, save yourself a bit of time, but take a look at the price before you do, because there can be a pretty big discrepancy. By the way, don't freak out about these 400 to 500 numbers over here. We're going to be able to craft from 400 to 500 a fair bit cheaper because of the different things I'm going to show you in this video. Alright, so step 2, get yourself to 400. As you're crafting, there's going to be different segments of going from 4 to 500, and in each of these segments you're going to do things a little bit differently. The first segment is from 400 to 422, 423, 424, in that range. And all you're going to do there is refine mats and potentially build components. So as part of this process, you're going to have to build a whole lot of exotic weapons. There's not really a way around that. But what you can do is get from 400 to 423 mostly by refining things. This is why we're saving mats. So refine your orichalcum, refine your ancient wood planks, whatever it is for your craft. Refine all of those, and that'll get you experience from 400 up. By the time you get to 422 or 423, it's really going to slow down a lot. But you can also help yourself out if you don't have enough to refine by starting to build the different components that you'll need to make weapons or make armor. So you want the 2 parts for the weapons or the 2 parts for the armor, but you do not want to craft any inscriptions yet. So don't make inscriptions, just make the parts that are for the item. You can do that up until 422, 423, 424. You need about, in total, you're going to craft something on the order of 20 to 25 weapons. So if you want to use that as a guide, you know, feel free. You can say, all right, well, there's like 5 different weapons I can make or 6 different weapons I can make. I'm going to make, 4 axe blades and then 4 hilts for that, and 4 dagger blades and 4 dagger hilts. Until you get to the point where you're going to make somewhere between 20 and 25 of whatever it is. Alright, this next part is where it starts to hurt. From 422, 423, whatever, until 450, you're going to have to craft exotics, and that can get really expensive. Now, there is a way to save some money on that. If you go to Postern Ward Waypoint and Lion's Arch, head south, there are dungeon vendors here, and dungeon vendors will sell you exotic equipment. So let me do We do weapons. If I go and talk to them, I can see all of these different weapons that I can get with dungeon tokens. So this guy's for AC, and he's got a whole bunch of different weapons with different stat combinations. Now, depending on that stat combination, if you salvage these weapons, you may be able to get out of that an inscription for a weapon or an insignia for armor. And you can use those to craft exotic weapons and save a whole ton of money. So if I go here and find this focus, let me actually buy a few of these. Let me see how many I can get. One,
I have everything you need.
Two, just two. All right, we'll see if I can get one of these.
Everything you need,
if you salvage these and you want to use a Black Lion kit, you have about a 2/3 chance to get back an inscription. Ooh, there, I got one. Soldier's Orichalcum imbued inscription. These things are valuable. This is worth about 3 gold. And I can use this to go and craft a weapon without having to use any tier 6 mats. Notice you also get ectoplasm out of that. And I didn't get any, I don't think, but you can also get dark matter out of it. Let me salvage another one here. All right, 2 more ecto, another inscription, good luck for me there, and then this dark matter. You need this dark matter to be able to make ascended gear. So you're going to have to salvage exotics at some point anyway. Now, the reason this is great is because these dungeon tokens, you can get them pretty quickly. The number of dungeon runs I need to do this, it's basically like 3.5 dungeon runs, 3.5 paths of AC to get one of these. Now, what's great is I can run those paths in a day, right? So basically, in a day, I can go and get enough tokens to get this inscription that's worth 3 gold if I want to sell it, or I can use it to craft. A bunch of ecto and a bunch of dark matter, and, you know, sometimes these sigils as well. These things you can sell on the trading post and make back a little bit of money. So running dungeons can be incredibly valuable. You can save yourself a lot of money, and then you go and you can make weapons with these things. How? Well, let me go back to my table here, my crafting table. Go all the way over here to my armor smith station. And if I go, and I might have already done these, but if I go and look here at my different weapons, oh, I'm at the armor smith, not the weaponsmith. Weaponsmith, let me go over here. If I go here to make weapons, I can go and use these to discover recipes. Now, it's going to take an inscription, ecto, and then 2 of the components here. So I'm making a soldier's thing. Let me go ahead and make a, I'll do a soldier's, let's do a greatsword. So I want to craft the Orichalcum greatsword blade. And the hilt. And then I can put in the inscription, the ecto, and then those 2 things. Now, in my case, I must have already learned how to do that, so there we go. Soldier's Pearl Broadsword, the inscription, the 2 pieces, and the 5 ecto will give you one of these swords out. And this thing, you know, I can get some money back after I craft it. Look, these things sell for 6 gold. So that's mostly because this inscription's 3, and then the 5 ecto, that's about 2 gold right now. So you can start to craft these things, and actually at this point, yeah, I might as well. Let me just go ahead and craft this. You can craft these things and then either use them or sell them. Now, you need to craft these to be able to get from 420 to 423 in that range until 450. So my suggestion is get your inscriptions, craft a whole bunch of them, and get yourself up to 450. And that is step 3. All right, step 5. You've made it to 450. And now what we're going to do is craft things that need to be crafted every day. So if you look, you'll have a section called Ectoplasm Refinement and Obsidian Refinement. And in these you can go, the Obsidian Refinement, you can do a bunch of these at a time, so you can just craft through. You're going to need a lot of these to make your Ascended weapons and armor. And then Ectoplasm Refinement, these are things that you can only craft once per day. So this glob of Elder Spirit Residue, if I craft this thing, it's a little slow progress bar, and there we go. Now I have to wait until tomorrow to craft it again. This is based on reset, so the reason this is almost 24 hours but not quite is because it's just after reset here for me. So if I craft one of those, and I craft one of these Mithrilium things, Again, the nice big long delay, and there we go, and then we get the timer. Now, the reason that GW2crafts.net has such a high price for getting to 500 is because they don't account for the experience you get crafting these things. What that means is you have to craft, another 10 to 15 exotics as part of this process instead of just crafting these, which you're going to need anyway. So what you want to do is from about 450 until you hit 472, 473, 474-ish, do your ectoplasm refinement every day, do your obsidian refinement as needed. Now these things are going to be a little expensive. They require these thermocatalytic reagents, which if you talk to this master weaponsmith or armorsmith or whatever, they sell them to you. Those 10 that you need are going to cost you 15 silver, so that's a little pricey.
Always a pleasure.
And they're also going to use obsidian shards. Obsidian shards, if you don't know, you get those from a vendor at the Temple of Balthazar. And actually, I don't think I have the waypoint on this character. But it's in the Straits of Devastation. It's somewhere around in this area or maybe up here. It's called the Cathedral of Glorious Victory. And there's a meta event chain, and if that's done successfully, there's a vendor there who will sell you those for karma. So that's one of the things that is a little different here as well. It uses karma. I have tons of karma, like 510,000. You convert that karma into obsidian shards at a rate of 2,100 karma per shard. So you'll need a fair number of those. Usually when I go, I'll just buy a whole stack at a time because I'm going to go through them anyway. So 450 to about 473. Do your obsidian refinement, do your ectoplasm refinement, and build up those mats. And then this last section from 472, 473, 474 in that range until 500. This is the painful part. You just have to craft more exotics. I think it takes about 12 or 13 to get from where you'd start to 500. This part's always really rough because you're just spending a ton of money crafting a bunch of exotics you don't need. And then that 500 is in sight and you're just getting closer little by little. But same strategy as back in step 4. You craft exotics, craft those with insignias or inscriptions that you get from dungeon tokens, and you'll save yourself a bunch of tier 6 mats. And then you'll be at 500 and can start to build your ascended weapon. Okay, so the last thing is building the weapon or armor. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you're going to try to do a weapon first. Weapons are much easier than armor. If you want to go about crafting an ascended weapon, you need to get a couple recipes as part of this. You need to get one of these ascended inscriptions. I think I might have one of those in the bank. I'll show you in a bit. And you also need a weapon recipe. So if I want to go and make an ascended sword, I have to go and buy this ascended sword recipe.
Until next time.
And then, if I go to my weaponsmithing station, I can go and start to build up the components. So, just like with the regular weapon, you need 2 pieces for the weapon. So, like an axe blade and an axe hilt, which is the small hilt, small spiritwood haft. Or if I wanted to make a greatsword blade, greatsword hilt, you have to craft those 2 components. And then you're going to need an inscription. So I have like this Zoja's Berserker inscription. That's going to take dark matter, which you would have gotten by now by salvaging that ecto. You'll see I have tons of that. A Deldramore steel-plated dowel, which is, you'll get that recipe automatically. It's just using spiritwood planks and Deldramore steel. Those are the level 500 crafting things you need. And then you make, let me go back to my inscription recipe. You need some of the orichalcum versions of the inscriptions. So for this one, I'll have to go and make this Berserker's orichalcum imbued inscription, and then dust. So that's your inscription. So you have the 2 weapon components, the inscription, and then if I go look at the recipe here, this is the axe one, the inscription, the 2 pieces, and this thing called a vision crystal. Vision crystal is another recipe that you'll get automatically. That takes dragonite ingots, imperial stars, bloodstone bricks. Remember, we made all of those crafting from 450 to 473, so you should have enough of those here. And then this thing called an auger's stone. That's something you buy. You buy it from the person next to the Mystic Forge. So if I pop over to the Mystic Forge, I'm going to go this way.
Retreat!
There's a Mystic Forge attendant over here, Miani. And if I talk to her,
May the
I
Six
can
watch over
buy
you.
that Augur Stone. It costs 20 skill points. So that'll let you make your Vision Crystal. Vision Crystal's the last thing you need for an Ascended weapon. So that's it. That's kind of the whole process. I've made a bunch of these so far. It's not too bad once you get your crafting up to 500. You'll notice you start to be able to build a lot of
Maybe
those
you could
mats.
show me some moves.
One of the really tough, expensive parts of this whole process is creating the Ascended mats. So, like the Greatsword you saw used Deldrimor steel. Well, making that Deldrimor steel can be pretty expensive. It's going to require, and I'll show you the recipe here. It's in your refinement section. Deldrimor steel ingot. It requires that Mithrilium, which you would have made doing your daily refinement, plus 20 iron, 10 steel, and 20 dark steel ingots. So that starts to get to be pretty expensive. You'll spend a fair amount of crafting mats making these things. All in all, the amount of iron that you use to make Deldrimor steel is absolutely insane. And you'll start to go through those mats really, really quickly. So even if you've been saving up for a while, you'll burn through them pretty fast. Ascended weapons cost about 50 gold a piece to make. At least that's the estimate that I've seen somewhere. I'm not sure if that price is current. So they do get expensive, but again, you can share them between characters, so it can end up not necessarily saving you money, but at least seeming reasonable if you're going to make like one sword and share it across 3 characters, especially if you're going to go and buy a good sigil for it. It can make a lot of sense to do Ascended weapons. Ascended armor is something I'd only recommend if you really, really, really want the challenge and to blow a lot of money on something. The stat increase is pretty small, and most people don't really care for the skins either. So that's the sort of thing that you're only going to do if you really, really are like a min-max type, or just, you know, want to say that you did it. But weapons are a great choice. So guys, I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll try and help out with it. And good luck.